And hello everyone. Back to the tavern. How you all doing? How was your How was your weekend? How has the slightly bumpy start to the new season has been been been? It's weird because today I don't have a surprise guest. I don't have a scheduled guest. I'm all by myself, and it's been a while since I've been streaming alone. So it's a totally different feeling to not have anyone to chit chat with, except for all of you, of course. So you will have to be particularly active today, all of you. Ta-da! But it also means that I'm not wearing a headset. So it's um, it feels different. I don't have to, right? 'Cause I'm not listening to anyone. So yeah, how are you all? What's going on? When new prime minister? Prime minister where? Oh, Anzi, good to read you as well. Thanks for joining back. Product manager, prime minister, product manager. Very soon. But again, I think I said it already. I'm not sure whether that's going to be a person who will be um, willing and well comfortable. Let's put it that way. Going on stream in the first week or whatever. It might take a while until you actually see them after they join, but we have something in the making. Robot, then I guess we should have a discussion maybe. Maybe we should crowdsource that. I've been getting these kinds of requests if you send me some information about your background so that we can see. We're currently doing a bit of a restructuring of the company anyway, right? There's a few people we're rearranging, and that's also why things have been a little more bumpy than usual lately. Maybe some of you obviously noticed. So we can use more than just one person, right? Um, so if there's obviously all of you here know the products a lot better than anyone else, right? So I definitely wouldn't mind getting someone in who's been a hardcore player, user, community member, holder, staker, whatever. So um, we might we might actually yeah have more I kind of not might but will have more than one person. It's a matter of when. So um, it's maybe one thing that I should mention up front is because some of you have been not getting your NFTs and things right at the beginning of the season. So we had this not strange at all. It's just that this crushed our monitoring was that the CPU price went up like dramatically for the first time in a year and a half or something like that. So last week there were issues with signing transactions, like free transactions by Wombat or through Wombat, and there's also been cases where people didn't receive their NFTs. So that's the same root cause that should all be caught up with. If there's anything still missing, then please let us know. Submit a support request so we can reimburse you for that for these things that have gone missing. Um, well, find a dollar. Bumpy makes it a little apprehensive about the next big milestone play drop. No bumps, please. No. I definitely. Well, there's typically something going wrong when you do things like that, right? Just the question is how big the issues are, and that you contain the basically the most important things so that main operations run smoothly and whatever, right? But I'm pretty much expecting that it will be rocky at some point, because this is replacing your token is not a simple feat, right? So this is I already apologize for anything that is going to go wrong, but I can't guarantee that everything will work from the day one. Crash edition, so maybe like there's going to be a we are sorry kind of thing. What you're looking for? Hmm. Yeah, that's the problem, Enzi. It will be easier to manage expectations of the players if you hire a player in your team. We will appreciate wholeheartedly. And then your village people is answering. After the while, the player would be hated by other players. So the getting one of the top players, for instance, on the team would, I think, not really work out, right? Because everyone would always say, "Oh, they're doing things in their own favor," and wouldn't yeah, that would not be a very popular kind of job, kind of position, right? So we got to be careful with that, or the person doing this got to be careful with that. But it's very likely, let's put it that way, that the person who will be in charge will be a player, former player, right? Just like with Pedro, when Pedro joined, Pedro knew. I think he had played Dungeon Master, right? He was not an active player, but he had played it. So at least something like that. Um, yeah. So we're yeah. I'm happy to talk to a bunch of people who have a lot of ideas. Ving, uh, Rob Odd, whoever wants. I mean, there's also it's not just a kind of job kind of thing, right? It's not necessarily just, hey, who works on that kind of full time, but maybe we should also have kind of a players council, where people can get elected to represent kind of players, and then just thinking, right? Because if there is like some particular people who are being recommended for the job, then yeah, so it's DAO. A DAO. I'm not sure how from a regulatory perspective that would work, but so 5 Minute Masters isn't liking this. Um, mhm. No, I don't know, but maybe we'll go something like that as well. Um, uh, or yeah, so that we get more of um, of a player's contribution, or to say player's voice heard, right? I mean, I've been getting a lot of feedback, me specifically, right, because I've been filling in um, for um, for Pedro as well, and on let's say on Discord, and obviously here as well. So there's a lot of stuff that we're getting in feedback from all of you, and there's a lot of stuff that we will draw from that, and then basically yeah, also account for, especially with the new person. But development is going on, obviously, right? So we're not stopping the development of Dungeon Master just because Pedro is not here. There's going to be more things happening anyway. Um, you have too many players from too many different places in the world. I find it very hard to think we could find one or two or five voices to represent all of us players. Well, maybe. Yeah, I can approach differently. Is there a persons in the company whose current focus is ensuring a smooth play transition? Um, yes, there's multiple people involved in that because the play transition has multiple touch points, right? So there's a dungeon master touch point, there's a wombat touch point, there's a staking smart contracts touch point, right? So the different people are involved. There's one person coordinating this. We have huge lists of checklists and task lists and whatnot. Um, yes, there's multiple people involved in that who basically are ensuring this, right? Because there's some software development that needs to be done. There is um, talking to partners that needs to be done. There's scripts that need to be prepared, and like yeah, again, software development and stuff like that. Right? Um, oh, there's a lot more people in the company than Pedro, Olga, and Matt, right? So um, Olga is also involved with anything else but Cat Monsters, for instance. Um, yeah, I mean, personally, I'm still nervous about this, and or yeah, excited but also nervous, right? Because there is, like I said, it has a lot of touch points. So there's a lot of things that, a lot of moving parts. So a lot of potential things that could go wrong. Pedro, yeah, Pedro has left us for he had a different offer. So um, uh, yeah, 2 weeks, a week and a half ago, essentially was the last day, and we're very sad. I really like not only liked his work, but also talking to him on stream, but also off stream, right? So, and yes, that's what I said, Trader. Um, so yeah, it is sad, and we hope that we get that whoever comes in and takes over his work will be as cool. Listen, I mean, obviously, you can only assume that at the beginning you will have to figure out. So you never know, right? With Pedro at the beginning, I also didn't know, but obviously, you always give people the maximum trust and faith. So, um, um, well, notice periods are a weird thing, right? So we basically negotiated a little bit on when. So there's always a little bit of back and forth. Um, it's the thing is that as soon as people tell you that they want to leave and they have something else, right? It's typically better to make it a rather quick transition than to drag this out for a long time because it's for people it's naturally really hard to motivate, and for the company it's really hard to invest in people, right? In Germany, it's very common to have a 3 months notice period towards like to the end of the month, right? So imagine it's a 15th, then the person would actually stay on for another 3.5 months. It's not large companies, it's not even uncommon to have a 6 months notice period, sometimes even by the end of the quarter, right? So it might happen that somebody actually want to terminate their contract, and then they would have to wait what 6, 7, 8 months until they actually get out. This is kind of ridiculous, right? But it was kind of the same for me when I left the German Stock Exchange back in the day. I had basically told them end of June that I want to leave because we also had this quarterly thing, right? And then we had a little bit of a discussion, and then I ended up staying until the end of the year, although they knew that I would be leaving already, right? So I was doing work still, and I still kind of gave my best, but At the same time, you start preparing for your new job, and the company starts investing in you, right? So because they know that they won't gain anything from that anymore. So typically, like when you know that they actually want to leave, then try and make it rather fast. So it was a few weeks between. I could have negotiated, hey, you stay a week longer, or maybe two, or stay a week shorter, or whatever. But I mean, it's okay. It's always gonna hurt at first, and then you'll figure it out, right? Um, Yeah, right. So depends on the reasons, of course, and it also depends on whether you're parting ways on good terms. And I think that's what happened here. That we're on good terms, and Pedro was actually saying, "Hey, maybe I'll come back. Maybe we'll get him back on stream at some point, just for one session, right, as a guest or whatever." And whatever. Maybe we'll have him as a consultant, as an advisor. We'll see. Um, but we're definitely on good terms. So then you also want to, like, if the person says, "Hey, my notice period is whatever, let's say a month, right? But I have this offer, and they would love to have me in 2 weeks already." Then I mean, that's something that should be discussed, right? We've never gotten in this situation with anybody leaving where we would yeah, we would basically fight over, hey, you need to, or we would force people to stay longer or whatever, right? It's never happened actually. um, Sometimes people leaving is a good thing, new person full of energy, new ideas, etc. Yeah, I mean, for us specifically, because for a blockchain company, we're really old, right? The company was founded in 2018. So we're 6.5 years old as a company. I mean, obviously, there's nobody anymore from back in the day, except for my co-founder and myself. We're still around, but it's always good if you get people in who are not kind of blind to the things that they've worked on for so long, right? Because if you work on the same product or in the same area for 3 or 4 years, everything is very normal. Everything is, you're used to all the little things, right? But if somebody new comes in, then they would ask the question, "Hey, why is it like this?" And that's very exhausting for everyone else. But at the same time, it offers the potential of actually changing things and switching things up. So of course, that's what I've been saying to everyone in the company, but also I'm saying it here. This is a chance of basically improving going forward, where things not. It's no way to criticize Pedro, but there's always the potential to use that to improve. Um, Calls. Um, yes. Uh, Suvan should be able to whisper to us. Yeah, but it seems this has worked. You've redeemed that. So Mad will be sending out these things in a day or two max. All right. Yeah. So what else has been there? I mean, basically, yeah, season started. Yeah, right. The new items. Some of you have rightfully complained about, hey, you said that we would get the cook's items in the chests. We couldn't manage to finish this up with the other changes that we had, so we had to move this a little bit. But this will come during the season. But yes, that means that we didn't have the shadow boxes and ruby boxes and so on changed. But the idea is that we will actually move back from boxes to packs. So we didn't want to kind of make a third edition of boxes just to basically have that running for like half a season and then introduce or get rid of the at least most of the boxes, right? Because obviously the boxes haven't been very popular with many of you. So we said, okay, no, we're gonna do the real thing right away, with yeah, basically moving away from boxes and towards pure packs again. And so that's we plan on having that within the next 2 weeks. So I really think that by mid-season this should be out. I just spoke with the team about it today. Um, well, I, I get this, Kevin, that this is not the only problem. We're working on the boosts as well. Um, so there was another discussion that we just had internally. Is what options we would have to actually go about this without, for instance, having to release an entirely new set of sets of items, right? Like a edition 3 or whatever you would call it, the next edition of profession items, because that's heavy. That's again a whole lot of new templates, um, um, packs, boxes, whatever. Like not boxes, maybe, but um, so that's yeah. We don't necessarily want to have new items, right? We'd rather work with the existing items and see how we can improve that, right? So that's what we're looking into. Mm, um, Points for Vince. Adrian, this is a two-part question and a bit of a touchy subject, especially for you. I mean, I'm used to discussing touchy subjects here. Ideally, some high-level points without too much nitty-gritty. This part is, why do you think Wombat tokens are unable to reach their full potential or targeted milestones? The follow-up question is, what do you do differently in the play tokens, ensuring that this token will not have the same fate as Wombat? Um, so when you launch a token, you learn, right? Or after you launch a token. So we've had about 2 years of live token stuff for Wombat and another kind of half year of prep. So we're now 2.5 years, say, more experience. I'm not saying smarter because that obviously you only know whether you were smarter afterwards. But yes, we have learned a lot during that time, right? With a lot of things that went well, with a lot of things that didn't go well. And we are drawing our conclusions for that from that for play, right? And one of the things is that so Wombat has been, and it still is, right? Um, Very, very focused on people who play the games, play Dungeon Master, or use Wombat, specifically people who play Dungeon Master, right? So that's where the Wombat token is. And it's for people who play that, right? So we've been targeting players like all of you who are here, who are mostly interested in Wombat, who are using Wombat in order to get benefits from in Dungeon Master and Wombat, right? So this is users, right? Um, what we haven't focused on in the beginning is to get pure kind of traders and investors and building up a community around this, so that you could benefit from, well, the market maybe picking up and these kinds of things, right? Because I mean, when we launched Wombat, we're in a very particular situation. If you remember, if you were around back then, we launched the token. It got listed on the 29th of July 2022, and you can see kind of where Bitcoin went at around that time, and what had happened with the market. We were just post Luna, we were just post Celsius, right? So the market took a deep downturn right before it, and there was nobody else launching their tokens during that time, but we did nonetheless. So we were basically gearing up for a bear market, and it was at the very beginning of the bear market, right? So we were like, okay, so what we need to focus on is utility. There's very little liquidity in the market, so we'll keep the supply very, very narrow. We'll not be handing out a ton of reward tokens initially, and so on and so on, right? There was no staking rewards and whatnot. So we wanted to keep the supply very narrow, so that we could handle the price, and at the same time we would have a lot of utility, or increasing utility for the token, so the price would be rather stable, right? So that worked out for a while, until, well, we got some sell pressure into the token, because one of our partners sold a lot of tokens and basically just dumped. So that basically halved the price, which was just not planned, right? We spoke to them. They had expressed no intentions of basically dumping like that, and they also said that they would stop. They even said it publicly. Then they didn't. Some of you might remember that. So this kind of stuff, right? That's you just learn. You just learn that you can't trust people to do X, Y, or Z. So as soon as the people have tokens, liquid tokens, they will do whatever is in their best interest at that time, right? So you can't rely on anything that anyone ever said or whatever, right? So you have to. We were naive about this, but also we had signed them on very, very early on, and these were the only people who had unlocked tokens, right? So we had a really kind of, we thought, trustful relationship with them. But anyway, so these were these kinds of things, right, where you learn, but at the same time, this to a certain extent jeopardized this approach, to get on to keep the token stable through kind of limiting the supply overall, right? So then we had to switch up our strategy there. Truth is, for instance, we had very little experience in handling all kinds of different partners, like advisors, like market makers, like exchanges, and so on, right? So um, that was kind of the fallout of this, because for us, just as an example, um, from a pure kind of using the token perspective, um, you don't typically trade the token, right? You buy it and then you spend it, or you stake it. That's how you act as a user of the token, right? So that doesn't create a lot of trading volume, and so it's not required that you have a lot of touch points. For instance, hundreds of thousands of dollars in liquidity, because if you buy $5,000 of tokens, then that's, if the price is rather stable, right, then you can basically just do that on a DEX, and that was totally fine, right? So we had, at some point, we even had a strategy prior to launching Wombat to go like DEX first, and maybe not even launch on a centralized exchange at all, right? So that was in the preparation. It was a discussion that we had, depending on what kind of exchanges we would be able to convince. We may say it's not that important, right? Because our users can actually use Wombat. They can buy the Wombat token within the Wombat app, right? So that was one of the discussions that we had. Long story, right? But these are all learnings, that, um, especially in the bull market, or in the market that's picking back up, you have to cater better for your, well, investors slash traders, community. And you can't just, because then for those people who actually like use the token to, with an expectation of making money, let's put it that way, which you can't avoid having a token, right? They will basically, if in a bull market, they have a very short um, span in which they trust you, right? Unless you keep delivering. So in a bull market or in a stronger market, you have to push the price up, or the price needs to go up every once in a while. Otherwise, people will exit, right? And that is something that I think that was the main learning throughout this year for Wombat, where the performance was not great. That is price performance, obviously. There's no way around this, right? Now you can say, okay, the whole market was not great, blah blah blah. Nah, but that doesn't count, right? It's us, and so sometimes it's easier to basically start with a clean slate, cut that off, and use the learnings that you've had in order to do it better, right? So I think that there's a lot when it comes to um, how we speak with the community outside of the people who are users and consumers of the token, but also with the people who basically trade and are looking to invest in the token. Um, so that is something. There's public communications. There's the type of communications. There's structure of communications. There's a lot of communication things, but there's also what does the token utility look like? Obviously, the play token utility will include anything that's currently there for the Wombat token, but there will be more, right? That definitely includes utility. That includes things that are more kind of crypto market oriented and less and not only kind of product oriented, right? So I mean, obviously, staking tokens for utility is good, right? But having something that also generates volume for the token, and incentivizing this, for instance, that is a different view, right? So these are all learnings that we're taking to play, and that's how we're designing play, not only from kind of a white paper perspective, but also from a what we do with it perspective. Sounds like I'm about to cry. No, I'm not about to cry. When IMX or other chains merely on Twitch. So IMX is not going to be a thing for Dungeon Master specifically, but I mean there's always a little bit of confusion between IMX and immutable ZKVM, right? IMX is quote unquote the old immutable network. This darknet based one that doesn't have smart contracts and which is not Ethereum compatible. So this is where Illuvium, for instance, have all or most of their NFTs, right? This is also integrated in both Wombat and Atomic Hub, but this is a little bit of, I don't want to put that into their mouths, but it feels like this is a little bit of a legacy network, right? So there's little support, or I believe that most of the projects or companies currently building with Immutable are actually building on Immutable ZKVM. So not IMX. ZKVM, Immutable ZKVM, so the zero knowledge Ethereum virtual machine compatible network that we've integrated into Atomic Hub and Wombat a few months ago. This is definitely a candidate. Yeah, and we're definitely looking at that. This is also a lot easier from a technical perspective than integrating with IMX, because IMX, as I said, doesn't have any smart contract, so we can't do any on-chain staking like with Polygon, right, or with Wax or EOS. So it would have to be some kind of different staking mechanism, which is not really staking, and we did not want to do that with IMX. But with Immutable ZKVM, the problem is not basically launching this in Dungeon Master. This we could do. The problem is, quote unquote, problem is that we don't want to just do it without having a separate logic for kind of the chains that you select, right? Because we don't want to force every player to not only stake on 3 chains, but actually to stake on 4 chains. And that's going to scale really badly, we believe. I mean, maybe we want to have a discussion here, maybe all of you want to actually have Avalanche and Solana and ZKVM and whatnot staking in Dungeon Master, and basically just stake because you have NFTs on all these chains, and then you basically just stake them, and it's all good. But for us, it's like it feels like the casual player will have a much harder time to actually deal with that, right? So we're more looking into a logic where you could let's say choose if there's 5 possible chains, you could choose 3 out of the 5 that where your MP actually is being counted, and the others are basically neglected, and so you could make it a better fit for yourself. But then we need to make sure that these chains are balanced across themselves even more than we have to now, right? So this is a bit tough, right? Let's see whether there's any. We need play chain. Yes. Yeah, play network. Yeah. Can we just move to Doge? The Department of Government Efficiency. But yeah, so Murray on Twitch, I hope that's an answer. So this is on the roadmap, but we first want to figure out how to deal with that kind of logic. Red Scorpion, with the Wombat token constantly receiving sell pressure from the influx at the end of each season, is there anything being done to counter this with more token used for buy pressure? So I mean that's kind of typical that we have people spending throughout the season, right? The tokens are being spent, so the price so there's demand going on, like, right, maybe also buy pressure going on throughout the season. And at the end of the season, some of the people who receive tokens will actually sell their tokens. So there is this zigzag, little bit of curve. Oh, today kids are in a good mood, so you can probably hear them. They're not shouting; they're just laughing. So to a certain extent, that's quote unquote by design, right? Because that's how it's been done. Whether that's good or not, that's a different story, right? We can actually debate whether that's a problem. Some people are using this to arbitrage, right? So they would, because they know that on the day of the payout, the price will go down. They will sell a day earlier, right, and then buy back cheaper after the payout has been done. And some people have sold. Some people use that. And there's nothing wrong in this, right? Because everyone knows that the payout is on that given day at the end of the season. So maybe that's debatable, right? But overall, we needed to have a discussion about sell pressure. And if you think about it, there's a total of 25 million tokens per season, so that's every 7 weeks or so, right? No, not also. That's precisely every 7 weeks. So if you extrapolate that to a whole year, that's basically like 7 seasons, 7.5 seasons every year. So let's say 7 seasons times 25 million. So that's 175 million tokens that are being handed out through Dungeon Master, right? That's a lot of sell pressure. That's correct, right? At the same time, we obviously have other sources of tokens. We have rewards on Atomic Hub, we have staking rewards and so on. And the question is obviously, like, how does that compare, right? And what do we actually need to do in order to create a stable economy, right? And it's another thing that we're currently looking into, like how are you supposed to deal with the staking rewards, right? Especially because when we introduce play, we'll have to deploy a new staking smart contract, at least on Polygon. Will that be the exact same smart contract, or will that be something different, right? Shall we make adjustments to the current one, or at least shortly after, right? So this is this should be the discussion, right? How do we manage the sell pressure that's coming from all emissions of Wombat tokens versus versus the buy pressure, the demand side of things, right? And I think that from a demand perspective, there's a lot we can still do. We are doing, especially when it comes to, but that's also been a bunch of suggestions, like very specific ones that we've been getting also more recently, but also kind of part of a general discussion. Prince Paradox, can I ask for a quality of life improvement for Dungeon Master? Make the NFTs auto return after 24 hours. Because have a ton of RAM that's eaten up on multiple chains with NFTs that's still sitting but never claimed. That's interesting. I'm not sure whether that's easy. I mean, I'm not saying possible, because basically anything is possible at all times from a technical perspective, almost anything. But I'm not sure whether that's easily possible, because you're signing a transaction as a user, right? So we would have to redesign that, and I'm not sure whether how that would actually relate to the security of your assets, essentially. But definitely something we will look at. Once for Vince, following up, I do hope play isn't simply just a name change. Timing is critical. And obviously, you wouldn't have the crystal ball on market movements. Do you maybe think the current tokenomic or most tokens are perhaps fundamentally flawed? Most tokens are fundamentally flawed. That is for sure, right? Because most tokens are being used for fundraising, and that creates, sell pressure from investors, from people who are in early, right? And that's a particular reason. If I don't know how many of you are kind of deep in the token trading investment field in that area of crypto, and talk to kind of a lot of projects and their founders or advisors and so on. The sentiment in the market is weird, right? Because of a lot of people in anticipation of the market going up had invested pretty much all their cash positions early on, right, in the beginning of this year and so on. So they sit on a lot of tokens that have not been released yet, and you can basically tell that if the tokens have been designed to unlock some tokens at the beginning of or right after TGE, and back when we did Wombat and we had early backers, there was no unlock at TGE, right? Just like what we were talking about. It was basically, we said, okay, if you insist on having 5 or 10 or 20% of the tokens unlocked at around TGE, so token generation at launch, right, then you're not with us. We're not like, invest in something else, right? Nowadays, this is so common that you can tell that, like, on each token that gets launched, you see a lot of sell pressure and people dumping their tokens because they want to get some cash back, right? So hardly any token that's launching right now is like not doing this kind of very steep bell curve kind of thing immediately, because people are basically dumping on one another. So that is how most tokens are fundamentally flawed, where they're not set up for kind of long-term success. That's one thing. The second thing is that the expectations for valuations are generally too high for a market with the amount of liquidity that we currently have in the market. That's what most people don't realize. The amount of liquidity that we currently have in all of crypto is very low, right? We always talk about price. We never talk about liquidity. Like, what's liquidity? Liquidity is the price change that happens when you trade a certain amount, right? And if there's not enough liquidity, not a lot of liquidity, then buying Bitcoin, selling Bitcoin, or any other token will basically create huge price swings, right? And this is exactly what we're seeing even in Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is looking like fairly strong compared to last year, compared to 2 years ago, but the the liquidity is very low, right? Because of some of the banks and other providers actually having gone out of business. A lot of the market makers who had a lot of money, right? A lot of these people have gone out of business throughout 2022, and now that liquidity is missing in the market. It's not coming back. It's not like the ETFs are creating a lot of liquidity because they're buy and sell, right? They're going in and out, but they don't actively provide liquidity into the market. So that's really missing a lot with all the three arrows and whatnot, Fallout. So it's really hard to build a token that has sustainable tokenomics in this market. So of course, we need to look at not just um, when are we prepared from a technical perspective to do X, Y, Z, and also not only from what have we communicated. There is a reason why token launches like Hamster Combat have been delayed. Probably their timing is still going to be really bad, right? So that's really hard, right? Because these like Hatterson, Hamster Combat, and others, they will be launching within the next two and a half weeks, and nobody knows what the market's going to look like, right? So there is no guarantee ever that just because you've set a date, you will actually stick to that date, because the market might actually just not be ready for it, right? So that is something that we did this time. We do want to get this right. That's why originally, part of the reason why we originally also had said, okay, we don't want to do it during this kind of flat market, but also it just takes a lot of time to prepare. But anyway, when we launch tokens, we don't want to do that in a kind of really bad market, right? But yeah, timing is critical here as well, for sure. Someone else mentioned about sell pressure on Wombat. Why do we have to pay wax for things like clan building packs? Surely these are a great use case for paying in Wombat, as clans need to spend hundreds of dollars in packs to get the new buildings. If, say, only the top 10 clans bought the packs, this would be at least $3,000 in buy orders for Wombat and would contribute to the burn. I mean, that's correct. That's definitely correct. So that's feedback that we got a lot right now, specifically now that we have to deal with the token price being pretty low or very low or close to all-time low, essentially. So that's definitely something that we'll revisit. Originally, we're because on Atomic Hub, we don't have that possibility, and so we've been kind of keeping it like that for a long time, because the main problem is that if you anyway, I don't have to go into the detail unless you ask. But anyway, but that's correct, right? So we will be revisiting this going forward when it comes to which drops do we do in which currency. We will definitely have more Wombat drops, and even if it's just kind of at least kind of a limited amount that we drop in Wombat, and then like a discount. But there's a few technical quirks in the Atomic Hub Launchpad that don't make it so super easy to do it there. But I mean, we can obviously always use an FT or an FT or whatever else to do this drops, and we're happy to doing this. Thanks, looking good. Someone else mentioned I look like I would cry soon, maybe soon TM. Well, that is, of course, another aspect of it. Now we could argue that if it's $3,000, it won't move the needle all too much. Um, you could argue that we could use the revenue to actually buy back tokens, and that would actually be and just hold them or whatever. Do whatever we do with tokens that we basically get from a drop, right? Um, hold them or burn them or whatever it is. There's a tax implication to all of that. I don't want to bore you with taxes, but there, that's yet another aspect to this, right? So sometimes for us, it would actually be better um, to get the money in kind of a not a token that's ours. Let's put it that way, and then buy our own token if we wanted to have it for burn. Um, Staging the transfer wins, following up once more, which is great. Staging the payout soften those pressures, say over 6 weeks, and equal split into roughly similar amounts, pay on a weekly basis. Yes, this would definitely help. I'm not sure how popular that is. That would be, but that's precisely the reason why we introduced the vault to begin with, right? So that there is an incentive for people to keep their tokens locked instead of just selling them. And then we introduced these mid-season payouts so that this happens twice a season, not just once a season. Now we could actually do that with the bonus because right now the bonus you can't vault the bonus, right? So it's actually maybe valid to say, hey, the bonus that is vested over whatever 30 days instead of paying it once, would pay out portion of it over time so that this would balance out um, with um, yeah with whatever is used. Um, we'll definitely look at that. Mm. What is Wombat going to do about bad actors in the VIP group? It was recently shown that a group or clan was abusing the VIP system, creating multiple empty accounts to harvest VIP boxes, season passes to resell. Why is that? The community needs to keep finding these and point them out to your staff. Never, it seems that rarely Wombat is able to be proactive about these suspect accounts. Um, oh, um, I think we are. Um, with many things. With this specifically, yes, this is a very difficult discussion because um, how would you go about this, right? So your question is, I take off my pants and jacket is basically not why is this happening, because it's clear why this is happening, but your question is why are we not seeing this? And the answer is because it's really hard to see this in a kind of automated way that we could have we could set up as a system that basically monitors and tells us, hey, there's something going on, right? It's very apparent that these people um, um, how do I say that they take precautionary measures so that we don't find them in through our automated ways, right? And in general, like we've had the discussion a bunch of times, it's just hard. So for us, there's we have to for certain things we have to rely on multiple eyes watching these kind of things and then react to that. But then it's still hard to basically prove that this has been really misused because there is no kind of law against staking tokens to farm rewards, right? The rule is that you can't use multiple accounts as the same person, but and play. But there's no rule against just staking tokens without playing, and there is no rule against sending NFTs to other accounts after you receive them. That is the problem, right? And then we can go back on the long discussions that we had 2 years ago, for instance, about hey, should we then maybe ban people who send NFTs to other accounts, right? But then, like, what is sending an NFT to another account? If you do that directly, okay, we could basically ban this, but it's an NFT-based game, so this is this is supposed to be like that, right? And that's precisely the reason why we introduced the VIP miner back then, that is a non-transferable NFT, so that you could not transfer it, right? Um, yeah. So um, the short answer is we don't have a system that basically does all that, because it's really hard to build it in a way that's not exploitable, and it is a huge investment. We've tried, right? We have a lot of tech that is basically just circled around how do we prevent um, malicious players from exploiting the system, right? But when it comes to this, we should probably upgrade our rules on that end so that we avoid this happening. So we definitely need to have an internal discussion about this and what we kind of put up as new rules, so that this kind of mm, exploits doesn't happen. Do you think October would be a good time to launch Play? Right. So looking back 2 months, I would have said definitely this is when it should happen. October will be good, right? Nowadays, with the market doing what the market does, and I mean, just look at Friday. What happened on Friday, right? The reading for the job market data in the US wasn't even that bad. It's not that it was clearly hinting towards, oh yeah, the Fed will not reduce the interest rates, not cut interest rates, but it basically just meant, hey, the likelihood of the Fed cutting by 50 basis points is much lower than we had originally thought, right? So on Friday morning, it was about 50-50 between 25 basis points and 50 basis points. Today, I think when I looked in the morning, it's about 25% um, that there will be a 50 basis point rate cut, right? So it's all about this piece of data, and we basically see Bitcoin go from what 58 to 53 in hours, right? Um, and it's crazy. Like, the market is really nervous, so um, it's it's becoming less and less likely now that we like with what the market currently looks like, and um, with how nervous it is, that October will be a really good month, right? Because what like a really good month would be, we're basically hitting a new all-time high every other day, right? Um, so that would be a really good market, and let's see, right? I think it should be all right. So a lot of um, indicators are pointing towards it being good or turning good by the time. There's a lot of historic data, right? When people look at how long has it taken every time, how long did it take for Bitcoin to actually rally after halvings, or historically, July, August have been bad months, September bad months, right? But fourth quarters are historically really strong, especially fourth quarters after the halving. Is there any precedent for that happening again? Well, nobody knows, because we've never seen Bitcoin acting with an environment that has 5% plus interest rates on the most important money markets, right? So it might be different this time, but like a lot of people are anticipating this, obviously, that the market will pick back up as soon as the Fed actually starts cutting rates, right? But nobody can know. But yeah, like not for sure. But we will have to watch the market. What do I balance? So I read the PokerStarter project description from 2022. You promised 40 AA, AAA games on the platform. But where are they? Isn't it time to focus on making a real gaming platform instead of trying to rewrite the entire industry? Games that prioritize investors are crashing, while smaller studios that listen to gamers are booming. Shouldn't you be focusing on what gamers want by now instead of just chasing investors? Um, well, with the 40 games that are on the platform, I think we have them. We have more than that, right? Really depends on um, how you um, I say count what you count as double A or triple A, but that's not our games, right? That was not supposed to be our games or supposed to mean our games. This is games that we basically offer on the platform, on the Wombat platform. And I think we have much more in that when it comes to the category. But it is also doesn't matter all that much. So we're not kind of just focusing on investors, right? We technically even can't because the Wombat token, but also the Play token, they're utility tokens, right? So we're supposed to work on the utility, not on the kind of, hey, how good is it to invest into this? But the reality in the crypto market is right now, yes, this is what it looks like. The tokens that have been that are a lot smaller, right, have been doing a lot better, right? And the really big ones have been struggling from a token price performance. But on the other hand, if you have a token that's I don't know that has a fully diluted value of 200 million, right? And you were able to raise whatever, let's say 20 million in pre-sales or token sales on this token, then you have a lot of budget to actually build something long term, right? So the question is probably not what you're focusing. Are you focusing on one group or another? But are you focusing on short term versus long term, right? And I think this is the important distinction that we need to make. What are the things that happen short term, and how much stuff do you want to see kind of from a short term perspective, versus what are you working on long term, right? And I think long term, we've been very kind of ahead of the curve for a long time, right? Back when we started Wombat, people were not talking about hey, onboarding a lot of Web2 gamers into Web3. And we were the first ones with that kind of hybrid model where we would have traditional games on the platform and add a Web3 layer on top and hand out NFTs and whatnot. And in 2021, we're literally told, hey, you're not Web3 enough because you have Web2 games on the platform, right? So people were complaining about that, that we're not kind of Web3 enough. In 2022 and 2023, people were saying, "Oh, that's so smart that you have this hybrid kind of thing, that you're not totally dependent on the Web3 market because it's totally down, right?" So it really depends on your perspective there, right? So I think it's important to not react on just the latest trend, where kind of short-term things are happening, and so this is the hot stuff right now, and that's why we do things, right? And also with, for instance, Telegram games, Tap Monsters. This is not a short-term thing. We don't think that we will shut down Tap Monsters after whatever 6 months because um, whatever Telegram doesn't do that as well, or Ton is not going that well, or whatever. Right? For us, Telegram is has the potential of becoming a really big gaming platform, and this is why we're working on yeah content beyond just Tap Monsters with Telegram or within Telegram, right? So I think we need to segregate that a little bit, the short term versus the long term, and I mean, most of the stuff, if you think about kind of what we spoke about from a features perspective in 2022, maybe not timeline, but the features that we had, right? We were discussing an NFT marketplace. We have an NFT marketplace. It's not called Combat Market. It's called Atomic Hub, right? So these kinds of things, I think, from a long-term perspective, we anticipated a lot of the stuff that we actually ended up doing. It's just that, of course, with the market appreciates different things, and now in a bull market, because the attention cycles are so short, people can get in and out of their tokens very quickly. They will jump on new opportunities, so it's a very kind of short-term oriented market, right? In the bull market, or not in the bull market right now, but in the bull market, that's what happens. That people would basically run out of patience within 2 weeks, right? And then they would want something new. Um, well, you said it, Adrian. I can't convince. I 100% agree with your take on the tokenomics. Why don't do the reverse? I guess you mean reverse. Only release tokens when a milestone is achieved. Otherwise, they never get released. This way, it limits the amount of tokens and is ensuring successful projects will get more tokens released. This is really smart. I really like that idea. I think first time I recently came across this was when I spoke to Dirk Lieb from Upland. They told me that they have some kind of smart vesting, right? It will depend on the number of users. I'm not sure whether that's actually the case. I haven't looked into the Sparklet tokenomics in detail, but this is what got me thinking. Hey, this is super smart, right? So tokens only get released after certain milestones. So we definitely have something like that in mind um, with um, play. Rob Ott, is there already information if Wombat in the vault counts for play airdrop? Yes. So the Wombat tokens that we owe you in the vault, from the vault, this will be translated into play tokens. For sure. It seems that you need a good data analyst to do these kinds of things. Yeah, but I mean, a data analyst will also only figure that out after the fact, right? And then you have one person. So the question to you guys might be: do you prefer that we have one person just looking at um, misuse of certain rules, or do you prefer that this one person actually spends their time on building products for you or whatever, right? So this is the difficulty. We have a limited amount of resources available, so we need to do what's best, and we don't necessarily think that having one person sitting there full time, essentially trying to figure out what's going on with tens of thousands of accounts or hundreds of thousands of accounts, right? Is actually like it's definitely helpful. I'm not saying it's not helpful. I'm just saying we so far have prioritized other things. If there's kind of a huge demand for us like taking care of this specifically, then we'll obviously reconsider this. Um, what is BTC at now? 40K? We're not up to date on that. I think we're 55 today, right? Roundabout. Um, oh, are the wombats we have in stake gonna be converted to play? Yes. Those two. Adrian, these Tavern means more than just question and answer. We know there are a lot of things to worry. Things will fall in place if you stay positive. How can we cheer you up? You don't have to cheer me up. I'm here to. But one thing is, I'm not here to cheer you up. I'm here to tell you the truth of what I think, right, or what's going on, and not just the happy faces and whatnot, right? So if there, I mean, I'm obviously concerned about the market and how where it's going and what to do, and there is a lot of complexity right now. So thanks a lot for being sympathetic. Um, I don't think I need cheering up. It's great that you're offering this though. So we can play a round of Twitchy Tides later, and in order to cheer me up, you can use a rare wombat and do some pooping. So um, that would uh, cheer me up for sure. Um, okay, we'll be hiring Prince Paradox as a data analyst to digging into things like that. Did I forget? Um, Oh, thanks. Thanks for the hug. Mm. Is the CEO in jail for Telegram? No, he's free. Got out on bail, I believe 5.5 million euros. Um, and but he's being charged for whatever. Um, I, I don't even. I mean, apparently he's not, or Telegram have not been reacting to well, people violating the law using Telegram. I don't know what the difference is between a Telegram group and the WhatsApp group. Why Facebook Meta never had anything like that, because obviously people are also using WhatsApp for illegal activities. So I'm not sure. To me, it smells like political stuff, because Pavel Durov is born Russian. He also has the French citizenship. Um, this smells very political overall. Wombat cube poops equal happiness. To me, they do, because it's really cool to see them in Twitchy Tides. Rename it Adrian's Therapy instead of Adrian's Tavern must be the highlight of this of my week coming here for a grilling. It is such a staple for me that for me, yes, I do need to do some prep sometimes prior to getting on the stream. I can't just jump here and wing it. At least sometimes I can, right? But most of the time, I have to look into certain things. I have to look into notes from last week, follow up on things that have been said, and so on, right? Because I don't want to sit here and basically not know anything, especially the things that we had discussed prior, right? So I kind of always look forward to this from both a positive and a negative perspective, because negative is this takes a lot of time for me, right? So it's I want to give you value back, and so it is a lot of for work for me, right? And these 2 hours here, um, like it's really um, um, I'm really exhausted afterwards, typically, right? Um, so it basically just takes big chunk of my Monday typically. But at the same time, I like it because I love to be getting this input directly, to feeling the sentiment with all of you, and understanding what kind of concerns you have, and because that is yeah, we've been doing that for a long time now, but this is really one of the best sources for input that there is. Um, oh, hang on. Sorry. Enough high-level talks for now. Got a more specific questions on Dungeon Master from Conference. Why is B1 Basham no longer available in the in-game store? B1 Basham is no longer available in the in-game store because it was supposed to be removed in season 19, and it was overlooked, right? So it remained in the store, and now it removed it basically a season late. The economic reason is it was too cheap, so it's over minted and it doesn't have enough use. So that's the economic reason. Will there be other things replacing it? Well, yes. Will there be more use for the B1 Basham? Very likely. Will it come back to the store at some point? Also very likely. So B1 Basham, there was good reason. Adrian, what's your best source of information? Ibro is asking. That is about what's going on in Web3 gaming. It's hard to stay on top of everything. Just curious how you follow it. So I read some of the kind of most relevant Web3 gaming publications, right? I have a lot of Google Feed notifications for Cointelegraph and Decrypt, these kinds of things. There's a lot of Web3 gaming content going on. Twitter, obviously a thing. But to be honest, the most interesting discussions I have is with friends of mine, of the company, of the token, investors, and advisors, because they have strongly opinionated and pre-filtered information, right? So they would tell you, oh no, this is crap, have you heard of that, right? And then you have these discussions with those people about sometimes for hours on end, about all kinds of interesting things that are going on, right? They tell you because they're interested, and they also tell you, hey, this is what you should be looking at. Here is a similar thing, right? If there are people here or on Discord or wherever, basically pointing out things, this is also really good, but it's not as kind of concentrated, because sometimes I have a 1 hour or 2 hour session with one of our advisors, and there's basically, it's packed with, hey, have you looked at this? Check this. Oh, this is really good. Maybe you want to partner with those guys. Should I make an intro? Whatever, these kinds of things, right? So I would say that this is probably the most valuable one. Not sure, Twitcher, you had previously mentioned extending open arms to new creators brought in by VIP 6 and 7. You reached out to newly added MP creators this season. I personally haven't, and obviously that's a bit of a problem now with Pedro having left. We will definitely pick back up on this. I'm pretty sure that some of the team were in touch with some of these people, because we obviously need their information. So, but we'll also right. The next big thing on the list for development right now is the creator portal, and that will make it a lot easier to actually interact with them. But we still love all the creators, right? We want to like deal with them and work with them and do collabs and so on. I would love to have a discussion. Like myself personally, I probably don't have enough bandwidth to talk with everyone, but it would be great if we could get in touch and basically um, um, sorry, I was just looking at the other questions coming, and do collabs and collaboration cooperations with them. Um, building on what Eyebrow says, are you getting pitches from like a billion different chains? Every single Web3 game that seems to come out these days is on another random chain nobody has heard of because they are being bribed to build on it. It's really frustrating as a player. Plus one, but it doesn't seem to support them, which is sad. Yeah, so if there's chains that are supported by some of the games that are interesting, then please bring them up, right? We can obviously always include more chains, especially if they're EVM compatible. If they're not, then it always comes with a bit of extra effort. Um, um, we have a lot of discussions with chains generally, and most of that is really not very interesting, to be honest, right? Because there's enough chains in general. And then it's all about bribing, exactly, right? It's about incentive systems to actually build on one chain or another. And these systems, these incentive systems, whatever they call them, grants or builder programs or whatever, these need to be very sophisticated because you want to avoid that projects basically just get the grant and then take the money and don't build, right? So they're structured in very weird ways, but the main problem with these structures, with these grant structures, is that they don't really foster business, right? So it's not like that's the main reason why we're not on all of the chains, is because it does not result in more whatever revenue, token price, demand, whatever it is, right? There's basically, you do something and then there's tumbleweed. There's nothing going on. There's a few dozens or hundreds, maybe thousands of players doing something with this, but nothing really going on, right? And we've seen that a lot, unfortunately, in the past. That and we also had a similar discussion last week, I believe, where it was about trading volumes for NFTs and so on, and that the market isn't looking the bad. The market is really bad, right? And there's a lot of I don't want to use kind of a legal term for this, but there's a lot of people basically just trading among themselves or between themselves in order to farm rewards, right? So there's that's what makes the volumes and the activity look better than it actually is. So with any new chain, exactly this type of another random chain nobody has heard of kind of thing. If that means that there's a lot of integration work and the amount of actual business, meaning there's not just one game launching on there, but ideally at least 5 or 10 games in our vicinity, essentially, launching on there, then we're having a discussion. But for us, that's always been more important than getting paid 50K or whatever in order to make an integration and launch them. Right. Adrian, are you aware 204 million bricks are required to upgrade the stadium and kitchen from level 1 to level 6? That's 2 million wombat. You think that's too little? Do you think that should be more? Because I mean, what's 2 million wombat nowadays, right? People were complaining that there should be more demand for wombat. So yeah, how smart is the wombat right now? We had this unfortunate naming for the wombat miner now, as compared to the wombat chat um, chatbot or AI bot. Um, how do I put this? We we did that POC, or we're basically still in it. We started it, and it's fairly easy to progress on the simple things to get this up and running, and then it's fairly hard to actually tune it, right? So it's not, obviously it's not smart by itself because it's all based on the data that is being fed. Um, but so we are looking into alternative routes for who can we collaborate with, who has kind of better tech than just us building that from scratch. Because by now we know how easy or difficult it is to build that from scratch, right? To basically, but that's exactly what you use a POC for, right? And so we've been testing this. The results were, let's say, okay. Um, um, Originally, it was not very smart. But it's gotten better, but yeah, you still have issues with stability and reliability and cost for it, right? Because obviously this shouldn't be too expensive to run later on. So that's all issues where um, that still needs some love. You can't call Raid Shadow Legends a AAA game, right? I guess not. Most are just ad platforms with shady microtransactions. The crypto market, especially NFTs, is rough, while Web2 games are booming. Web2 games are not booming, sorry, wooden weight bones. We keep pushing the same stuff to the same niche, getting the same feedback. I'd rather spend 20 to 60 euros on a good game than waste time. Imagine a platform where you can buy with crypto, trade, and get game passes, please. So much potential to attract casual gamers and keep it fun for the old souls. I mean, I do agree with you on a lot of these things, right? A lot of the games that we have on Wombat are rather similar to one another. How do you define a double A or a triple A production? This is typically based off of, well, their budget, right? This doesn't mean it has to look a certain way um, or be 3D or whatever, right? It basically just means that there's a lot of budget that was spent on creating this game. Most of the time, this is kind of the definition of how you distinguish double A from triple. So unfortunately, a lot of the stuff is, well, as you put it, ad platforms, right? With shady microtransactions. So when we first launched Mac Arena, right? Most people were considering this at least a double A, right? From kind of the looks and how it felt and so on. Do they do shady microtransactions? Whatever, right? I mean, you open the game, you get 8 pop-ups immediately about kind of buy this, do this. The problem is that this is what free-to-play looks like nowadays. It's just full with that stuff, right? And on mobile, most of the games are free to play. Overall, about 2/3 of the traditional gaming market are free to play from a kind of revenue perspective. It's just a better way for the publishers, at least for the successful ones, to make money to monetize a game than spending 20 to 60 euros upfront to purchase a game. It's just a dominant model, right, in the gaming space. So I don't disagree with you on the quality or on with the diversity of games and what a good game actually looks like. Um, but there are few games that are kind of genuine in approach and fun, right? So I think that um, from concerning our own games, I think what we're doing, for instance, with Chain Monsters and what's going to be happening with Tap Monsters going forward, I think that's actually pretty cool. Um, And then if you actually were to take away, and that's what long term is going to happen, right? But three games will or can't just be also in Telegram. Let's use Telegram games for as an example here. Telegram games cannot just be hamster combat kind of um, quote unquote clones of Notcoin all the time, right? That basically promise, hey, you'll get an airdrop, and then what? And what happens after the airdrop, right? With Notcoin, that was fine. Nobody was really expecting anything. Everyone was just like, yeah, whatever, let's do that and let them figure it out. But with Hamster Combat and with all the successors, that's different already, right? So for us, with Tap Monsters, we already had to think, hey, do we want to make this kind of a pure community building kind of thing, so that we would basically shut it down as soon as Chain Monsters is live, or do we want to make this an integral part of Chain Monsters of this universe, right? And we actually think that this can be very, very cool. That you have different things that you can do, and that there's different play styles entirely when playing Tap Monsters and Chain Monsters, but you can make progress um, within the same universe, within the same ecosystem, right? So that's what we have in mind for that. So it's I think it's a well difficult discussion, but because it's not 0-1, right? There's a lot of games that are commercially extremely successful, although we would consider them extremely boring. But the incentives are basically set like this, right? So that's part of the industry. But again, the Web2 games are not booming at all, right? Olga was here last week, and we said she also said that we're now back to pre-COVID levels. So basically, 2019 was the last pre-COVID year, right? So we're back to where we were 5 years ago, and if you adjust that for inflation, where we probably had like 20-25% inflation in the meantime, where the market is actually way smaller than back in 2019. So we're in a shrinking overall gaming market, right? And a lot of companies are going bankrupt. A lot of consolidation happening. There's a reason why Activision and Blizzard are one company, and why they were discussing selling to Microsoft. I don't know what happened with that, right? All these things, like the whole consolidation. This is it's the market is not good, right? The Web2 gaming market is not healthy. That's why everyone is actually looking to, well, maybe moving into Web3 as soon as that picks up, right? But yeah, it's a tough discussion, and I see where you're going. You want more true entertainment, right? And this is what um, anything that we'll be doing going forward will be focusing on. Um, Merely on Twitch. If Wombat Wallet supported more chains, it could maybe result in a bigger user base, especially as you have games front and center. I'm just thinking because I looked at the new Brigade game from Taco, but it's on Taiko. Yeah, never heard of that before, and I couldn't get it working in Wombat. Yes, and didn't want to use MetaMask. Wombat could position itself as gaming wallet across more chains, which might even be funded by. So the funding part, yes, but again, you will typically have to fulfill some kind of metrics, some kind of milestones, and some of them are really ridiculous. So you don't typically, or we don't typically do something in order to get the funding, right? So like build to earn. We look at what makes sense, and then we do it, right? And so if there's 5 games, especially like, okay, there's a new Taiko game, there's new whatever. I think I've heard Taiko somewhere else as well. So if that's a thing, if there's a lot, like several games building on this, and we can actually expect a bigger user base because of that. That's exactly the point, really, on Twitch. Then we'll do it for sure. Mm. A way to do this is making certain aspects of the game USD only, not needing a crypto wallet. Mm, that's what I like about Telegram games, right? You have a way of they have stars in-app currency. Now I know in some countries that's not available. Germany is one of them. That's crazy, but you have that, and that's totally Web 2, right? So the experience can be totally familiar, and essentially Tab Monsters right now is not a Web 3 game, right? And with Chain Monsters, we want to have something very similar, where you can play the game entirely without having a wallet, until you want to have your NFTs, and then you should better have a wallet, because what do you do with NFTs if you don't have a wallet, right? Um, or your tokens, essentially, right? But there's going to be kind of a full Web 2 experience to this, which, well, the game will be focused on the fun aspect, not the earn aspect, right? So I think that's where this is going, and I think that's also where most of the games are actually going. Like, look at one of the good examples is actually Guild of Guardians to me, right? You don't need a wallet up front. It's I don't I don't necessarily like the fact that you have to use Passport. Okay, whatever. But there's, like, if you want the advanced features, then you need to have a wallet, right? Cons for Vince. Adrian, I personally think you are the smartest amongst your team works, and you secretly enjoy these discussions, especially those high-level discussions on chain or token or system. You definitely get me thinking on a few things, especially things that I'm not privy to. All these are healthy conversations alongside raising awareness amongst us. One of the best things, if not we, take away from your Tavern generally. Thanks a lot, Cons for Vince. You you don't know all the people who work in Spielworks, so uh, I don't blame you for maybe thinking this, but I really hope there are people in the company who are smarter than me. Was the Wombat staking error addressed here, Rising Dragons? I missed the early part of the stream. Which staking error? No, it was not addressed. Let's answer your question. I think, Valkyria, I missed your question earlier. Sorry for that. You were asking about Meta Battler, right? Okay. Will Wombat be boosted in Meta Battler? I hope so. We've been in discussions with them. I don't know. I would have to follow up on this, where this went. I remember having that being mentioned to me last week or the week before, but I would have to follow up on this as well. We couldn't stake yesterday. It says there was not enough rewards in the pool. Was it on Wax or on Polygon? Wax. Okay. It can be solved. I'll check right after the stream if that's been solved. If not, then we'll get right onto it. I personally was not aware, but just making a note on the list. So I can do it right after the stream. Okay. Yeah, I think it's basically just so that's a kind of a technicality, but we wanted to make sure that we don't accidentally screw anyone, right? So what we built into the staking smart contract is a logic that we first have to fund all the tokens that will be used in as rewards over the course of the next 12 months into the smart contract first before anyone can actually stake and basically get the reward um, allocated to them. Let's put it that way, right? So what that means, if somebody, let's say, wants to stake 100 million tokens, there need to be 15 million tokens reserved for future rewards that are not assigned to anyone yet in this smart contract. So in theory, yes, or now in practice, we can run out and then nobody is able to stake because there's not enough tokens. Why we did that is we wanted to prevent you from being able to stake if there's not enough tokens in the smart contract, because otherwise it might happen that at some point later, when you want to claim your rewards, you're not able to, or you won't get your rewards. And I think that's much worse than not being able to stake, right? That you are promised rewards, but you're not getting them because there's too few wombat tokens in the smart contract. So that basically what that means is that if we were to, for instance, shut down staking rewards altogether, everyone would be guaranteed to actually get their tokens still, right? So even if we don't put any more tokens in the smart contract, so you're not allowed to stake anymore, everyone who had staked before would still get their tokens. So that's what, hence this weird um, uh, this weird error message, so that if there's too few wombat tokens in there, that happens. Okay. I'm unable to send wombat tokens anywhere on the Polygon chain. I keep getting an error. Okay, this is weird. I've been transacting on Paul with Wombat. I haven't been sending Wombat tokens though. So let me let's check. I'll check up on this. What's the team? Cool discussion here, Budo and Bones. I hear you, Adrian, but we're seeing big player bases shifting towards smaller studios while big companies are struggling. Exactly. What I'm getting at is, why does the game have to be free? I don't mind paying for a game. Yes, you don't, but many others do. But anyway, there's enough potential in indie studios to start with, especially if we introduce them to the Web3 space. Like you mentioned, you guys have already done a lot with Web3. Let's reach out to those developers we haven't connected. Yeah, so that's very normal to see this side of the business, right? Where you see one game coming out and it's this overnight hype, and then it seems like indie is the way to go, and it is, because it's cool. These games are much more creative, right? And then you basically just pay $5 or $20 or $40 or whatever to buy the game, and then it's fine, and you have this awesome community and a lot of hype and a very healthy economy and so on, right? It's just that this is 0.1% of indie games, right? Most of the indie games sell 50 copies a month, 5 copies a month, 10 copies a month, 100 copies a month. Try making a game where you sell for $20, let's say, where you sell 100 copies a month. That's good, right? You should consider yourself happy, right? Lucky, whatever. But it's obviously not sustainable. It's not enough to actually run a business on it, right? So most indie studios are actually struggling. So here is, oh, okay, now there is a problem, kids. So here's where Web3 actually comes in, because yes, Web3 has the potential of making it easier for indie studios to actually build something that works commercially, right? So I think this is exactly how Web3 should be used by indie studios. This is exactly where we can help them. Yes, we are in touch with a lot of studios. It's just that it's even there. It's really hard to distinguish the good ones from the bad ones, and it's hard to like what is the potential for like the short, mid, long term potential for this kind of game. Not just from a player-based perspective, but also commercially, because in the end, we all need to basically run a sustainable business. Yeah, Alcor had an important notice when logging in. IBC Wombat EOS bridge upgrades has to bridge back. So far we haven't gotten confirmation from Alcor or from EOS or from whoever that the IBC bridge will keep working after the EOS hard fork. So we're looking into this. We're trying to get more information on it. I mean, we're the biggest holders of bridge tokens, but we really hope that we'll find a solution before the hard fork. But yes, if you have, we'll send a notification about that as well. If you have wax-based but bridged to EOS tokens, then it will be better if you bridge them back. How old are your kids? 5, no, almost 6 and 3. For the custom NFTs from the daily chest, can we have someone from the team review the NFTs in the dungeon chest account, please? There are currently 1,026 NFTs in that account, and 95% of those literally have no value. 5 MP or not stakeable in Dungeon Master. Before, we used to be hyped getting custom NFTs from chest, but past 5 seasons is disappointing. I mean, NFTs are generally disappointing, right? So would you prefer not getting anything rather than something that you don't like? That's a serious question, actually, because how this was intended originally was that there is a little bit of an extra that might be what? A surprise, a delight, whatever, right? If that's not the case, if this is just frustrating because they're not worth a lot, well, then we might actually consider removing them. Yeah. Does that mean we should not hold EOS on wax until next month? Well, that I can't tell. Whether the EOS, well, and USDT also, I personally also have USDT. EOS or USDT on wax, I don't know about that, to be honest. I have to check with the local team there. All right. Will we ever get a bridge to move Polygon tokens to wax? So we consistently are having discussions about this. We really hope for a better solution on the kind of on the EVM versus EOS.io side, but this is so hard to make reliable. I know that there's been some suggestions there how we could actually make that kind of a semi-automated process. We'll more likely have something like that, but like a mechanism that's not a real kind of decentralized bridge, rather than kind of a bridge. Okay, we're about 2 hours in, so let's do some Twitchy tides. Yeah, type !wombat to actually participate in this. Um, Cons for Vince. Was Olga the team in charge going the celebration of the 20th season on paper, technically 21st? I would have to ask. I'm sorry, I don't know. That is one of the things that I actually don't know. So let's hope we get a rare wombat skin in here today with some pooping, hopefully. I want to check how many of them we have nowadays. Twitchy Tides. The Twitchy Tides team is really pumping out a lot of new skins all the time. This is amazing. 14 Dungeon Dive Wombat Black. So here's your opportunity to actually put it to good use, but nobody has it. Where are all those holders of this? Not watching the stream anymore. Next time I'll basically just, I'm one of the holders, okay, but I'll just shout out to all the holders of it, and I'll send them some messages up front. We'll set some incentives to participate with it. With any of them, maybe. Not just the black one, not just the rare one. But it's sad that we don't see any pooping action. So nothing to cheer me up. Okay. So, should I be? I'm not sure whether I should be handing out things from my personal stash every time this happens, but let's see. I think we'll hand out maybe some AI God or some of the launch bags tokens. Where's some NFTs? Damn it! I will have to look into this if I want to do more than just like, okay, for next week. Anyone who poops with a rare wombat next week's stream will get 1,000,000 woof from me. So we'll stick with woof, and that's going to be my personal thing. But I'm announcing this already, so you can get prepared for next week. Anyone who will poop next week will get 1,000,000 woof from me. That's not a lot, I know, but it's going to count for anyone who does that. Okay, then we don't have any poopers. We'll just set it to fast, and then we'll run this. And Hardy Stone. Okay, that was the last second. Let's go. Let's see how. Oh, yeah, fast is really fast. That's what I really like. They're not over promising here, right? So we're down to 11, 10. That's really good. And 5 top 5 players get a promo box as always. So yeah, or we have our winners, essentially. So, Nadu or Ranman, who's gonna win this? Turtle or the, whatever that is, the Woofy? So Nadu is the winner. So we've got Nadu, Ranman, Mazbaz, Imahala, and Zaber. Congrats and GG's. So let me just briefly shoot it out. And that's that. Congrats. And now all that's left to do is the big question. Who are we rating today? Yes, you will be able to stake your Wombat tokens on BVIP 5. Give us a few minutes probably after the stream to 1 million Woof 2 weeks ago would be good. Now we're looking at, I don't know, where's Woof? Where's Woof stand nowadays? Oh, ooh. Yeah, that's rough. So that's like a third of the value from a month ago, pretty much. Crazy. Someone sold 130 billion. Who had 130 billion? Good move, right? Len PH. Len PH. Who's Len PH? Well, Len PH is on Atomic Hub right now, looking at stuff, so can't be that bad. Let's raid. Okay, let's raid Len PH. All right. So let's get that rolling. Say hello to Len PH, and yeah, I think that it's the first time I'm rating them, so that's cool. And see you next time. We're gonna do the burn this week, and but nothing else special. Olga will not be streaming. I think Matt will. So yeah, see you next week, and have fun with Len PH. Bye bye.